Hello, hello, my beauties and bees. Welcome to an episode of Sci-Fails that I'm kind of icked about. But we gotta do it because it's icky and it is definitely bad science, bad archaeology, bad everything, bad genealogy, bad how genetics work. Everything is wrong when it comes to Robert Sepher. Robert Sepher is the cringiest of the cringe. He's a proponent of the lost city of Atlantis being an Aryan kingdom. He's a proponent of sacred Jewish bloodlines, and that is what we're dealing with today. He's also the promotes nonsense like the aquatic ape theory and the most racist of ideas about the human origin and why white people are the best. He really, really, really wants to convince you that white people are just the greatest thing that's ever happened to the world. And he also, he denies Darwinian evolution. So, debunking out of Africa, he actually says that he makes the mistake of claiming that that Australopithecines had thumbs on their feet, which is not true at all. They had very human-like feet. Like we have dozens of foot bones from Australopithecines. We know what their feet looked like. We don't just have Lucy. So when it comes to nonsense and BS and just terrible archaeology and bad science, you can always count on Sepher to deliver in the cringiest way possible. So without further ado, let's find out about Noah's noble bloodline and how that leads to apparently Donald Trump's divine right to rule us. Holy shit.
Ignatius Donnelly was born in 1831 to an Irish immigrant who had settled in Philadelphia. He was an American congressman, but he was best remembered for authoring a book published in 1882 called Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, where he detailed theories concerning the mythical lost continent of Atlantis, which according to Plato was an empire.
He thinks people want to see him staring off at the ocean. He puts a lot of videos of him staring off in the ocean and talking philosophically about his nonsense. Now, we're going to get like almost to Tartaria territory here.
Empire that flourished during the late Pleistocene, or Ice Age, and met its demise through
The Pleistocene is... and this guy's an archaeologist, or whatever he calls himself. The Pleistocene is not an ice age. There are several glacial and interglacial periods within the time frame of the Pleistocene.
Volcanic cataclysm and sea level rise from rapidly melting glaciers, which submerged the island kingdom somewhere in the Atlantic, probably around the Azores archipelago.
Or it didn't exist at all, and it's actually about it's a poem about the folly and hubris of man, written by a philosophical-minded people, probably passed down orally for generations before that. Perhaps even potentially linking back to folk memory of things like Doggerland or other areas that were submerged, because we are finding little villages and stuff in the North Sea and things like that, but nothing like what actually is claimed about the lost city of Atlantis. They tether on a whole lot of nonsense there. Maybe there was a bustling township or something that got flooded in Doggerland that there's folk memory that's passed down through time for, but nothing like what they claim about. Holy crap.
Donnelly suggested that Atlantis had been destroyed during the same event remembered in the Bible as the Great Flood. He cited research on the ancient Maya civilization.
Do you guys want to watch him play in the surf while he tells us about the Mayans? Oh my god, what did I just miss him say? I was so distracted by his artsy... Did he poise a camera up here and be like, I'm gonna walk down here and play in the surf for holy.
As the Great Flood. He cited research on the ancient Maya civilization, claiming that it shared a common origin of ancient civilizations in Egypt, Europe, and the Americas. He also thought that it had been the original home of an Aryan race.
Yeah, he was a Lost Tribes nonsense guy, right? This was a common thread throughout the European societies of the 17th, 18th, and even into the definitely into the 19th century. I mean, archaeology was getting a little better in the 19th century, but that's when this stuff comes from as well. This folklore, because they couldn't believe that brown people could build the mountains in Cahokia or the cities in Mesoamerica. So there had to be white people there before that just had disappeared. That was the folklore of the time period. So yeah, a lot of people wrote nonsense about that.
Whose blue-eyed descendants could be scattered around the world.
Sumami says, all right, I put down my controller for this. Yeah, this is some straight up bullshit, but I don't want to cut into your gaming time, so make sure you make time for you, sweetie. The owl and the pussycat went to the sea. Beautiful pea green boat fact. Okay. The book is super wordy to cover the lack of content. You read that. Okay, yeah. So Dee read that book. When was it published? Do you have a first edition? Though actually we really know Atlantis was just a retelling of the sinking of Numenor, which is why people think the Earth is round. Round Earth is keeping us from Valinor. Wake up, globeheads. Yes, we need to go to the Undying Land and conquer Valinor. Like the Numenorians of old, when the true god Melkor led us to the west to be immortal like him and join the ranks of gods. That's why the Valar want to keep you out. The Valar are just trying to keep you out.
Giving rise to these new empires after reestablishing and disseminating agriculture during the Holocene. While many of Donnelly's theories have been discredited since the 1800s, given the advances in archaeology, geology, and genetics, some of his conclusions regarding the diffusion of race have proven to be intuitively correct.
No, they weren't. You're wrong about race. So the fact that you're basing it on some 18th or 19th century book doesn't surprise me at all. And you claim to be like actually researching and studying the science when you're really just like doing confirmation research into the woo.
In particular, when referencing mythology and biblical history. For example, Ignatius Donnelly wrote, quote, "Did the Aryan race come from Atlantis? The center of the Aryan migrations within the historical period was Armenia."
I would not be surprised if his dating profile didn't say looking for a traditional woman that prioritizes family. Yeah, he's definitely like wanting to, he's all about Aryan bloodline and stuff. We'll get to that. We're only a minute and a half, and I have to stop him every time he says a sentence, though. I'm sorry that we have to go from fun, hoppy boys and cute kangaroos to this trash fire.
Here too is Mount Ararat, where it is said that the Ark rested, another identification with the flood regions, as it represents the usual transfer of the Atlantis legend.
Oh my god, I remember the breast milk ice cream post. That was so cringy.
By an Atlantean people to a high mountain in their new home. Now turn to a map. Suppose the ships of Atlantis to have reached the shores of Syria at the eastern end of the Mediterranean.
Okay.
The Atlantis ships are then but 200 miles distant from Armenia.
They're called Phoenicians. I don't know if you need to, you're supposed to be in... Okay.
Armenia. But these ships need not stop at Syria. They can go by the Dardanelles and the Black Sea, by uninterrupted water communication to the shores of Armenia itself. If we admit, then, that it was from Armenia that Aryans stalked Europe and...
Oh, holy shit! Oh my god! This is the Great White Conqueror theory. Yeah, the Aryan. This is the freaking cornerstone. This is the cornerstone of their bullshit. And genetics do not play out this way. When we look at genetics and look at haplogroups, this is not what we see. There was no white civilization that gave rise to the kingdoms of India, and that's the idea that the white people came and brought civilization to the indigenous people of India and the indigenous people of Northern Europe. That these mighty whiteys came and brought that in. This is not what we actually see. Oh, it's not. This isn't even talking about genetics. This is talking about the evolution of language, and language follows trade routes. What are you fucking talking about? Oh, I didn't even. Sorry, I guess got so upset because I thought this was saying this was how the genetics played out. This is actually talking about language. Does he think that people carry? Oh my goodness.
India. There's no reason why the original population of Armenia should not have been themselves colonists from Atlantis.
Armenians are colonists from Atlantis because language travels over trade routes. Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, Maya, we're gonna raid your thing here in about an hour and 10 minutes. So I'm trying to get through this horrid mess.
The Greeks, who are Aryans, trace their descent from the people who were destroyed by the flood, as did other races clearly Aryan. The nations who are comprehended under the common appellation of Indo-European, says Max Mueller.
Again, we're talking. These are what is languages here. The language does not equate that they are the people. Like, because this language passed down this trade route does not mean that the genetics of the people moved down that trade route as well. That everybody's related back to Atlanteans. What a weird direction to take this.
The Hindus, the Persians.
I don't want to miss it. That's kind of the thing. I like when you get in your break. I love seeing you get out there. We're gonna get Maya to. I think we need to get Maya to 500 here quick, guys. So if you're not subscribed, I think that's just Maya, right? It's just M-A-Y-A. I'm just not how to spell your name, but how to do your plug for your channel. Yeah, let's get her to 500. So share that around.
Persians, the Celts, Germans, Romans, Greeks, and Slavs do not only share the same words and the same grammar, slightly modified in each.
Robert Sepher is famous for his sleight of hand of switching, and was it Dapper Dino who talked about this, of switching from talking about language evolution to genetics, right? He's famous for doing that, for saying, yes, we're talking about language here. Oh, but these are the genetic people then. This is the bloodline.
Each country. But they seem to have likewise preserved a mass of popular traditions which had grown up before they left their common home. Their domesticated animals were the same as our own, except for one fowl adopted from America. In the past 10,000 years, we've added one bird to their list of domesticated animals. They raised wheat and wool.
Dude, no. I did a whole video on the history of domestication from start to finish. You can go watch it. Robert Sepher, it might teach you something. But the domestication of different animals, like chickens from China, turkey from North America. You're talking one fowl. We've got guinea from Africa. You're talking about one fowl. We got asses from Africa. You're talking about one fowl. We've got cattle from India and in Southeast Asia. You're talking about one fowl. Only a handful of the domesticated species were domesticated by white people or Aryans. There's no such thing as Aryans. It is a diverse group, a diverse range of haplogroups. Not nearly as diverse as you see in places like Africa, but a diverse group of arrangement of haplogroups and overlapping populations. And the domestication of dogs happened way before anybody had white skin. Okay, the domestication of dogs happened about 40 to 25,000 years ago. So the idea that was all the species were domesticated by freaking. But yeah, I've got a video on this, Robert. Go watch it. I feel like Kent Hovind saying, "Go watch my video on domestication of dogs, and you'll see that there's only one kind of dog." No, but seriously, I just having to rehash this. I'm 3.5 minutes into this, and I've been going for covering this topic for 20 minutes now. He can't complete a sentence without doing a falsity or or dropping just blatant untruths or fabrications.
And spun and wove as we do. Their metals are ours, even iron they had already discovered. A still further evidence of the civilization of this ancient...
There is no geological evidence for Atlantis. There's no place that Atlantis could exist at all. It's just not a thing. That there's what you're showing, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, is proof that Atlantis doesn't exist.
Race is found in the fact that before the dispersion from their original home, the Aryans had reached such a degree of development.
And he's going to lean into that bullshit that the people from the Native Americans couldn't have built the civilizations of the Americas. The white people had to have been there before too. It's almost as bad as the Mormon idea that that white people came with their Bronze Age submarines.
Development, that they possessed a regularly organized religion. All this presupposes temples, priests, sacrifices, and an orderly state of society. But above all, it must be remembered that the Greeks, an Aryan race, in their mythological traditions, show the closest relationship to Atlantis.
The Greeks were the coastal people that would have been familiar with the loss of civilizations to natural disasters due to things like, Pompeii. It's been shown that Greek cities rose and fell. So the idea, the Creations, based off Thera, exactly, Ring. That's what I was thinking of. I don't know why I said Pompeii. I'm thinking of the Minoans. That's sort of why the Greeks would lean into that.
We find in the Eleusinian Mysteries, an Atlantean institution, their influence during the whole period of Greek history, down to the coming of Christianity, was extraordinary. And even then, this masonry of pre-Christian days, in which kings and emperors begged to be initiated, was, it is claimed,
begged to be initiated. This guy sniffs his own farts, I swear.
Continued to our own times, and our own Freemasons, who trace their descent back to the Dionysiac fraternity, which originated in Attica.
I want to be part of the Dionysus fraternity. That Dionysus was probably the coolest of the Greek gods, right? God of wine. Come on, girls.
And just as we have...
Happy New Year, Nikki. Good to see ya. And Steph's here. Maya showed up. We got all the cool people. I don't think I've wow, I've got a lot of people watching. I guess I should dunk on racist assholes more often. Surely, because no people of color would have an orderly society, says Deep Arcs. Meanwhile, in Egypt, mentions Sumami, the Egyptians, they do the mighty whitey thing where there was a conquering class of white people in Egypt. That's the same thing they do with India. There was a conquering class of white people in India. there was a conquering class of white people in America, and the Mesoamericans, and they based it on they don't understand indigenous art and stuff.
We have seen the Saturnalian festivities of Italy descending from Atlantean harvest feast, so these Eleusinian mysteries can be traced back to Plato's island. But as the story goes, this all came to a catastrophic end at the close of the Pleistocene.
Okay, so that at the close of the Pleistocene was way, way before any of the civilizations that you've just mentioned here, right? The Pleistocene, that's 12,000 years ago, and you're talking about stuff that's happened within the last 3,000 to 4,000 years. So, not related events, and not even something that you could infer as related events. None of these civilizations existed. Humans were still living as hunter-gatherer tribes for the most part. And when they did start building civilizations, they were brown people from the Middle East, because everybody was brown people back then. We didn't move into freaking into the regions of Europe where it became beneficial to our haplogroups to oh my god to develop to pass on low melanism due to things like rickets. So it's not just, oh, these were, and that's the thing too. What we're gonna get to is that Noah was like, there's this passage in the book of Enoch, I think, where they talk about how white Noah was. So like he was like pure white. It's supposed to I think the writer, it's poetic, so I think it's supposed to represent his purity. But the way that his dad explains it to Enoch in heaven, because he goes like on a spirit journey to freak out to his dad about how Noah was so white, and these people will take that and extrapolate it out to that. Oh, so white people are the superior, pure people like Noah. Are we about to have another weasel invasion? So I believe this is supposed to represent Pompeii here. Is the where this art comes from, where this model burning comes from. However, that was not at the end of the Pleistocene.
According to Plato, quote,
you know, I hear weasels migrated from Atlantis, or were they from Mu? I can't remember. Are weasels from Atlantis or Mu? I'm gonna pull the chat and see. Let's see. And then Mu. Mu will also stand in for Lemuria, so we're gonna do that. So Lemuria or Mu can
you remember only one deluge, though there have been many. You and your fellow citizens are descended from the few survivors that...
Finally, you said something correct. There's been many deluges over many areas over many, many years, but not big ones that cover the earth by any stretch of the imagination.
Remained. But you know nothing about it, because so many succeeding generations left no record in writing. The change in the rising and setting of the sun and other heavenly bodies, how in those times they used to set in the quarter where they now rise, and used to rise where they now set. Of all changes which take place in the heavens.
So is he claiming that the earth didn't spin the way that it spins now back then? Holy shit. Is your brain broken, Robert Zephyr? How did you make it through college with these nonsense ideas? I think weasels are weasels overwhelmingly. I'm getting the results coming in that weasels are from Mu. Does that mean then that that mongooses come from Atlantis?
Heavens, This reversal is the greatest and most complete. There is at that time great destruction of animals in general, and only a small part of the human race survives.
Now there was some bottlenecks. Again, and the bottleneck was not at the end of the Pleistocene either. That bottleneck was it 500,000 years ago? Eddie voted Atlantis. At least Atlantis is getting some love. You find a lot of love for Lemuria among the Bad Science Sunday crowd because they. When did you all do that? It's been about a month ago, right? You all covered Mu and Lemuria.
According to Rudolf Steiner, quote, the greatest part of the Atlantean population declined, and from a small portion are descended the so-called Aryans, who comprise present-day civilized humanity.
Oh, from Species with Amnesia, Our Forgotten History by Rudolf Steiner. Let's see about that. Rudolf Steiner. Austrian occultist. Christian Gnosticism. Oh my goodness, what's he? There is no religion higher than truth. He was got swastikas on. Oh, theosophy. He was a theosophist. Okay. Early spiritual experiences. Yeah, this guy was like into channeling and stuff, right? That's what I thought. And he had some anthropological ick. Oh my goodness. Steiner's ideas and the Nazi Party. Steiner financed the publication of and wrote I don't know what this is, partly on his own basis. The publication comprised a conspiracy theory according to which World War I was a consequence of a collusion of the Freemasons and Jews, their purpose being the destruction of Germany. The writing was later enthusiastically received by the Nazi Party. Dick Tavern claimed that Steiner was a Nazi. Another scholar notes that Steiner was an influence behind Italian fascism. So that's who you want to quote, Robert, right? Toward the end of Steiner's life and after his death, there were massive defamatory press attacks mounted on him by early Nazi leaders, including Adolf Hitler and other right-wing nationalists. These criticized Steiner's thoughts on anthropology as being incompatible with Nazi racial ideology. So there's being influenced by his close connection Jews, and even falsely that he himself was Jewish. Anthroposophy was not characterized by so anyway, this guy's trash. I think we can pretty much run with that. Influenced Italian fascism. I mean, nothing.
In his 1896 book called The Swastika, the earliest known symbol and its migrations, Thomas Wilson, curator of the Department of Prehistoric Anthropology in the U.S. National Museum, wrote, quote, an Aryan symbol used by the Aryan peoples before their dispersion through Asia and Europe. This is a fair subject for inquiry and might serve as an explanation how, as a sacred symbol, the swastika might have been carried to the different people and countries in which we now find it by the splitting up of the Aryan peoples and their migrations and establishment in the various parts of Europe.
So, following iconography, you can trace a culture's influence and again trade routes, but this idea that because someone carries on a symbol from a previous group that they interacted with or even intermingled with does not in any way incorporate any other aspects of that culture or society other than they incorporated that symbol as something universally known between the groups and what it represents.
In a book first published in 1887 called Bailey Britain, History and Genealogy, it says, quote, "The descendants of Shem are believed to be that ancient Aryan race which inhabited Central Asia east of the Caspian Sea."
But Shem's not a real person, right? So that, I mean, in the 1960s, sure, there were still people that believed that that the biblical genealogies were like literal, right? There's actually people that believe that. That doesn't mean that they were real. Histories and genealogies, and you want to say that yes, there's actual descendants from fictional characters from mythology.
And north of the Hindu Kush Mountains, perhaps what is now Turkestan. They are also called Indo-Europeans and Indo-Germanic race. Conflating Germanic, Indo-European, or Aryan people with the offspring of Shem might sound contradictory at first, since Shem, or Sem, is a son of Noah, from where we get the term Semite from.
So, again, but these aren't real people, right? They weren't real.
Anthropologically speaking, Semitic is a language group, and while politically distinct, it's still considered part of the same Caucasian demographic, a term that comes from the Caucasus Mountains, where Mount Ararat is located. Noah was said to have 3 sons, Japheth, Shem, and Ham, representing the 3 continents that the descendants of Noah allegedly possessed after the flood. The word...
Yeah, but this is mythology, bro. And you're laying it over top of again, the idea of the biblical narrative of the origins of races and stuff only extends as far as the borders of that area. They didn't know about other things in other parts of the world. That's why you don't read about fucking kangaroos. That's why you don't read about the Aztecs in the fucking Bible, because they didn't know anything outside of their little circle. So to pretend that this mythology of this culture in this isolated region reflected a global understanding is nonsensical on its face.
Possessed implies that Noah's Caucasian offspring diffused agricultural civilization and governed.
Thank you for the super sticker, Eddie. Much love from the Hive. Let's see, we got some commentary too. I think you've made a good teacher in school. I get a little bit too passionate, I think. I think I would get upset about some stuff, because around here anyway, you got to deal with a lot of children of white supremacists. Classic violin music is very colonizer, right? He's trying to paint a narrative. Romani people migrating through Europe and retaining Hindu tradition and symbolism. That includes the swastika, which is symbolic of Kali, doesn't mean they are Indo-Germanic. Exactly. It's funny that, yeah, of all people, it's the Romani people that were carrying that symbolism and keeping that, what the idea of the notion of it meant, alive. And we aren't genetically related to Semitic groups. Yeah, I'm going to claim I'm direct descendant from Maleficent. You can do that because biblical characters are real, so all literary characters can be real if you want them to. Why do you say that in the past tense, as if her life is over and she can't make a change? Well, I mean, I could still be a teacher. I'm kind of a teacher now. This is teaching a bit. There are some Gitano, Romani people that have Sephardic Jewish ancestry, but that's pretty small amount of people. Okay. I'm actually learning a bit more about the Romani's involvement in this, so thank you for that. That's very interesting in the adaptation. I knew the symbolism of the swastika was prevalent in the sub-Indian continent and as part of the Hindu cultures that thrived there. And when people from the Middle East and Europe traded with them, that symbolism was carried across the trade routes, right? The Silk Road went right through this kingdom. So you were going to see Hindu symbolism on a lot of wares coming out of that part of the country, that part of the world. It's just how it would be. Uh, it was an industrial area. So much industry, especially in the early. He talks about the Holocene. The earliest industries we see in the Holocene were in India. The earliest traces that we see were in that subcontinent.
Over these three regions, which are represented by three different colors in this map, illustrating the world as people by the descendants of Noah, who was not a Jew, Muslim, or Christian, but ancestor of all three, stemming from the same Caucasian race. In the Bunting Clover map.
No, he was supposed to be the ancestor to all people everywhere, all humans, according to the narrative. You want to say, oh, all these white people are descendant from Noah? No, everybody has to be descendant from Noah. What do you glean from? How are you reading the biblical flood narrative and thinking that anybody survived besides this family of 8? Every single person. This has to be accounted for by these genealogies, not just white people.
Map, drawn by a German pastor in 1581 and published in the Travel Book of Holy Scripture, we see again the world portrayed as a clover leaf divided into 3 by color, representing the 3 offspring of Noah, with Jerusalem in the center of the map, surrounded by.
Most Romani were forced to convert to Christianity and didn't intermarry with the Jewish population often, and even then, that's only in Iberia. Okay, so only in the far west. Aunt Jur, I was trying to be rude or anything. Oh no, I didn't think you were being rude. Aunt Jur just wants me to have prospects for the future, and maybe that is a prospect for the future. I usually do for my career. I do teach classes and stuff, but it's not about this kind of stuff. It's about pharmaceuticals, which are boring, and I don't like talking about in my free time. Supposedly, the swastika goes back to Canaanite culture as well, but I haven't traced the accuracy of that statement myself, says Orion. That's where a lot of this trash comes from. Himmler thought Romani people were pure Aryans, and Hitler said, no, gas us. Gypsies were, I hate saying that word, sorry, were interred in camps, but more often used as a labor prior. To Hitler denying Himmler's request not to kill us off, so we got gassed more frequently. That sucks. That's terrible. When I was a kid, the house across the street had a swastika built into the outside brickwork. It's gone now, of course. That's bizarre. Was it a Hindi swastika, or do you think it was actually like a German Worker Party swastika? Well, if you think only white people are human, yeah, I mean that's the bottom line here, right? Because as Maya pointed out in one of her recent rants, that he actually, Robert Steffer actually thinks that humans are different species, because he thinks that white people are descended from aquatic apes, whereas black people just are from tree apes. It's really gross. All right.
The 3 continents. The fact that Jerusalem is the focal point in the center speaks to its strategic location, giving access to Europe, Africa, and Asia, which was not only exploited by the ancient Caucasians or Aryans of the Holocene, but according to this map, illustrating the genetic marker of haplogroup X, which is primarily seen in demographics that share genetic affinities with Caucasians during antediluvian times, when Atlantis allegedly existed, is most pronounced in the territory that was once known as Phoenicia, and today is called Israel, where Jerusalem is located, as well as Anatolia or Turkey, where Mount Ararat is located in the Caucasus Mountains.
I had something on this haplogroup X situation. Let me pull it back up. I closed it when I was going through my kangaroo stuff. Where is haplogroup X? Okay, so yeah, haplogroup X. Here we go, abstract. On the basis of comprehensive RFLP analysis, it has been inferred that approximately 97% of Native American mitochondrial DNA belongs to one of 4 major groups of mitochondrial DNA lineages, designated haplogroup A through D. It has been proposed that a fifth mitochondrial DNA haplogroup, haplogroup X, represents a minor founding lineage in Native Americans. Unlike haplogroup A through D, haplogroup X is also found at low frequency in modern European populations. To investigate the origins, diversity, and continental relationship of this haplogroup, we performed mitochondrial DNA high resolution RFLP and complete control region sequence analysis of 22 putative Native American haplogroup X and 14 putative European haplogroup X mitochondrial DNAs. The result identified consensus haplogroup X motif that characterized our European and Native American samples. Among the Native American and haplogroup X appear to be essentially restricted to the Northern Amerindian group, including the Ojibwa, the Nuchanut, the Sioux, and the Yakima. Although we also observe this haplogroup in the Dene-speaking Navajo, which is where a lot of the folklore that I cover about North American groups comes from. The Dene had a rich oral history. Median network analysis indicate that European and Native American haplogroup X mitochondrial DNA, although distinct, nevertheless are distantly related to each other. Time estimated for the arrival of X in North America are 12,000 to 36,000 years ago, depending on the numbers assumed. The founder assumed. So basically, this fits perfectly with the last wave of migration from Europe across the Bering Straits into northern. Let me reel it back. Into across the Bering Strait, that there was a group that intermingled in this frosty little area here in the late Pleistocene that migrated across the Bering Land Bridge and brought with them similar DNA or same DNA as this group here, and they were in Arctic. And it's nice how he cuts off all of the north here, because let me see if I can find a better map here. Does this have a map with it? The paper I'm reading doesn't have a map with it, but let me see. Let me find a. That's the one I wanted. Okay. Boop, boop, boom. Here we go. I have to hold on. I have to minimize this, and there we go. So here's the distribution and the migration pattern, all documented and understood quite well. And how they relate within the populations. So no, Robert Sepher, wrong again, as always.
It's known as Phoenicia, and today is called Israel, where Jerusalem is located, as well as Anatolia or Turkey, where Mount Ararat is located in the Caucasus Mountains. In this context, Zionism and the symbolic rebuilding of the Third Temple in Jerusalem represents the re-establishment of an ancient colony that once ruled over the world, governed by a Caucasian population that seems to be in a state of collective amnesia about its fabled Atlantean Aryan origins. Of course.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me catch up with the chat here, because there was a lot said right there, and you see who's coming up on the screen. So I do have to catch up, because we're about to shift gears. Because now we're getting into the divine right thing. There are only a few ways to abstract out wheel symbolism. Yeah, spiral is a spiral or circle or concentric circles, or some combination of the two. I was watching Dead Domain last night, and they Dead Domain's they them. They were covering this person saying Spider-Man 2, the video game, was satanic, and using the symbiote symbol, which is the spiral. That's the symbol of the symbiote race or whatever in the alien race in the Marvel universe, saying that was like the all-seeing eye and all kinds of nonsense. Yeah. So they're just the idea of a spiral or concentric circles or an eye or anything like that. Boom. They're going to link it all together. Swastika goes right in there with it. Swastika is just it's a spiral with right angles. Let's see, Ryan. I do wonder if there is some level of connection very far back. The symbol that represents Shiv was a Star of David in it. I've always wondered if it was borrowed from Hinduism. There was definitely trade between Hindi cultures in the Near East. I don't know how far back that it goes, but India had a huge industry of pottery, metalwork, and fineries like cloth and spices. India was the freaking golden empire. India was Rome before Rome could have even a twinkle in the European eye, right? India was for the longest time was the population center of the human race, where we were making the most advances for a long, long time. And it doesn't get enough credit. The climate was perfect for it, for humans to flourish, and we certainly did. I didn't know how I broke out of how I was raised. I'm sure glad I did. Yeah, I was raised with books about mighty whitey leading brown people out of the Dark Ages too. I was raised by that. With books that made that claim. It was very popular at that time, especially if you were even tangentially interested in alternative history stuff. I mean, like I am. I like researching conspiracy theories and cryptozoology and alternative archaeology and nonsense like this. Let's see here. It was whites only. It was a whites only neighborhood. Judges, white. Oh, in that neighborhood you were talking that the swastika was. Okay, my nose itches. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much. Ew, Arcs. I was thinking maybe it was a Hindu fam and they didn't understand that cultural context in the West. That's what I thought too. Maybe it was like a family that built it didn't know what was going on. I have to work Sunday. Would be too tired, but I can try to pop in. I don't know. Okay, where are we? LOL. Meanwhile, Cheddar Man, right? My dad was only second generation American from Germany. Yeah, that's my upbringing. One day it hit me. All of it was bullshit. Yeah, we had all the gross books about. My family's Irish, but we had those too. Oh, my grandmother was a quarter Yakima, says Ring. So you're part Atlantean then. My mother is half German and half English. Thank goodness my bio dad was Gitano. I think I said that right. Let me know if I said it wrong. Sadly, my brother still has clan artifacts hanging in his home. That's creepy. Though I was born in the UK, both of my parents were Polish. I am a wasp, so happy in the hive. Yeah, says Stephanie. I also Irish, British, Scottish, and Indian. Quarter Irish and quarter English. The Irish part of my mother's family, embarrassingly DeWines. Oh no. My stepdad is Polish. Pretty similar foods, Germany and Tyrol. What else we got here? Good morning, look at the trees. I'm Cherokee Indian, just to verify. Okay, says Eddie. More the period when Buddhism was prominent, right? I forgot. My brain is permanent fog, but I wonder if things spread via Buddhism spreading since Hinduism spread more east than west. No idea, but it's possible. I was reading some grotesque stuff in a book about the early history of Lynn, Massachusetts yesterday. I think that's Massachusetts. Christ, talking about indigenous people like they're not part of the human race. Genealogy will put you into some foul moods sometimes. Yeah, anybody who wants to be racist about it, I want them to go get one of those 23andMe tests done. If you want to be racist, you first prove your purity, because none of us are. Human the human species is a melting pot.
Of course, 9 out of 10 Zionists today are not Jewish, and a millennia ago, the attempt to reconquer Jerusalem during the Crusades was initiated by the Knights Templar, who were outwardly a military order of the Catholic faith. That said, the Templars held esoteric beliefs that they descended from the temple priests of Jerusalem, and their ancestors entered Europe as waves of lost tribes after the sacking.
This is all conspiracy stuff about the Templars, too. There's really not too much truth to to anything you know about the Templars. Like, as far as they were the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the Templar of Solomon. Mainly known as the Knights Templar, was a military order of the Catholic faith and one of the wealthiest and most popular military order. But today they're known for all the conspiracy theories wrapped up in them, including the satanic Baphomet worship and all that stuff. They were literally Christian knights. The Crusades was gross in general, but
King of the temple for which they are named after. Rex Deus, which means God Kings in Latin, are a group of European aristocratic families that claim ancestry from the bloodlines of the priests of Jerusalem.
Rex Deus are a bloodline that trace their origins back to the 24 high priests of the Temple of Jerusalem, which includes the family of Jesus. And according to Holy Mother the Church, and who are we to doubt their word, Jesus was...
So can I clarify, and I can't make this any more straightforward, bloodlines are not passed down and through being part of a secret society or an organization. If you it's the same thing. They just lump it all together. Language, culture, apparently being members of an organization is a bloodline now.
Single and had no children. But in actual fact, like all Jews of his time, he was obliged by Jewish custom and tradition to marry and procreate. He was doubly empowered to do this because he was also a rabbi and the heir to the throne of the line of David, so he had to produce an heir. And one of the most closely guarded secrets in European history is the fact that he founded a bloodline known as the Desposini, which are still extant in Europe today. When I go to England, I stay with one member of it, and when I go to Nice, I have breakfast with another. And descendants of Jesus are all around you, and many of the people who are true descendants of Jesus of Nazareth.
Descendants of Jesus. So we are deep into the weeds here with this fella. What was his name? Did it tell us his name? It did. It's what, 1245. Tim Wallace Murphy. Is he a conspiracy theorist? Tim Wallace Murphy. The Mark of the Beast. Custodian of Truth. Is he a white supremacist, though? That's what I want to know. It seems like Sepher only cites white supremacist. Why is this coming up? Sorry, I should have had this all pulled up earlier. Anyway,
Don't even know it. I've just used a term which is inaccurate, Jesus of Nazareth. The problem is, Nazareth didn't exist at the time of Jesus. He was Jesus the Nazarene. He was a member of an esoteric cult attached to the Essene order, an initiatory form of spirituality which is still being practiced in secret today. And the Rex Deus families outwardly practice the religion of their place and time, but secretly amongst themselves follow their own path. They trace the influence of these families on the development of European culture, and that influence was quite profound, particularly in spiritual matters. They were the families responsible for the founding of the military order of the Knights Templar, and after that was suppressed, several centuries later, they played a seminal role in the foundation of the worldwide fraternity of Freemasonry, which is still running and still extant today. So their influence is all-pervasive. They were still practicing a form of initiatory Judaism which traced its roots back long before the time of Jesus, and its original origins come from Egypt.
You're gonna have a hard time selling me that there's people who are just like legit, like documented descendants of Jesus. I'm just not gonna take that at face value. That there may be oral tradition in their family that they were once a member of some order, sure, but even those claims are not genetic, right? There's no actual bloodline that runs down through these groups of people. just because they're members of the same, because one of your ancestors was a member of some knight, even if it was true that your ancestor was one of the Knights of the Templar, it does not mean that you were descendant from Jesus, right? That's not what that's not what any of this says. None of these groups.
Story deserves to be told. And it's a story which is riveting, because these people acquired power in Europe very, very early on at the time of Charlemagne and are still in positions of power today. And there is a chivalric order which is still running, called the Order of the Fleur de Lis. Membership is by invitation, but to hold office within that order you have to be a member of one of the families of the Rex Deus group. And they cover some very, very powerful people. What their agenda is today, I haven't the faintest idea. But they're still about, and they're still exerting massive influence behind the scenes, all very quietly.
Yeah. So big conspiracy, the secret cabal underneath everything, a secret powerful group of Aryans that have control over ancient kingdoms and all this nonsense. It's who are the favored race and meant to rule us as our mighty white lords.
And I, for one, would love to know what their agenda is.
Winning is tough. I always said winning is somewhat maybe innate. Maybe it's just something you have. You know, you have the winning gene. My father is German, right? Was German. My uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer, Dr. John Trump at MIT. Good genes, very good genes, okay? One of the smartest people in the history of MIT, in my blood. If you believe in genes, some do, some don't. Believe me, if it's good genes, we believe in genes, right? We're allowed to say this. A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? Do we believe in the gene thing? I mean, I do, right? You know, I do. When you have 111 wins, that's in your blood, right? It's got to be in the blood. It's good genes.
Doesn't this remind you guys of how Hoven's always like, oh, I'm German, that I was the favored race. He thinks the same nonsense.
You have good genes. Good genes. You believe in genes? He's got good genes. These are great women, great men. Frankly, great genes. You have great genes. You have very good genes. Just remember the president. You have great genes. Those genes. Those two young men have the greatest genes anyone's ever had. The best genes I've ever seen. A man named Henry Ford. Good bloodlines. Good bloodlines. If you believe in that stuff, you got good blood. We have good stuff. We have great genes in this room. We have smart people. A man with really...
If your genes are so great, why do you paint yourself orange? If you're so proud to be white, why do you paint yourself orange? If you're so proud of your white, blonde hair, blue-eyed... does Trump have blue eyes? I don't even know. Imagery, then why do you try to make yourself look as not white as possible? It's strange.
Fantastic genes. Gotta have like the best genes in the world. Although you had an ex-governor here that had very good genes too. We have his son in the audience too. You have good genes, you know that, right? You have good genes. Good genes, you have good genes. It's in the genes, it's in the blood, right? It's in the blood.
Would you like to have a 3,000-year bloodline?
I think it would be great. I don't know what I'd be doing for the rest of the time, but I think it would be great. You know, I'm proud to have that German blood. There's no question about it. Great stuff.
Not only do the royal families of Europe come from the same bloodline, many world...
Trump's uncle would hate him. Yeah, he was like a reasonable scientist with good, they did good work, right? Trump's uncle that he talks about.
Leaders, such as Donald Trump, share genetic affinities with the ancestors of the Knights Templar that, according to esoteric Germanic societies, like the Thule and Vril Society, not to mention the Rosicrucians and Freemasons, all trace their lineage back before the advent of the Abrahamic faiths, all the way to the Aryan Magi of Mesopotamia, and before that to the pre-biblical time of Atlantis. That said, the legendary antediluvian empires were not homogeneous, and the ancient struggle for global supremacy is still being played out today, with one demographic represented by...
Did you see that? Zionism versus Bolshevism?
...by a nationalist sect that wants to maintain its genetic and cultural identity, and another sect that wants to replace the traditional power structures based on noble bloodlines with a...
Yeah. Did anybody have George Soros on their card? Or... Yeah, so... Alright, so here's the theory, right? That either... that there are two vying secret cabals that are vying to control civilization. Obviously, there's the noble white folks that have the divine right handed down from Noah through noble bloodlines, on down to such nobility as Donald Trump and King Charles, maybe some nonsense like that. And then there's the evil Jewish cabal that's trying to overthrow it, and send the world into chaos, because those people are supposed to rule us. And obviously George Soros being the financial backer for some reason. If you weren't keeping up.
Mixed, borderless population of secular, atheist, genderless, Marxist ideology under the thumb of a global Bolshevik communist dictatorship. My name is Robert Sepper. I'm an anthropologist. My published work is available on Amazon and through all other major book outlets. If you'd like to support my work, you can do that through patreon.com.
Does anybody like watching you stare at the ocean while you do your videos, Robert? I don't think they do. I think most people would like to see you like punch yourself or something while you're making these videos, or maybe if you like put one of those shocker things on your nipples, like in that movie, and then every time you tell a lie, Saving Silverman, yeah, like in that movie, and every time you tell a lie, will shock you. Let's do that instead of looking at the beach thing. That'd be fun. Holy shit, yeah. So, did you all see that coming? That curveball? That's what made me decide that I had to cover this. That all of a sudden that we are going to be thrown a implication that Donald Trump has the divine right to rule us, from as handed down from Noah. Holy shit. Anyway, that was Sci-Fails. Maybe the best one I've done in a long time. Really feel like I cracked something open here and exposed the disgusting truth behind it, which is always nice. I mean, every now and then it's, I like to do the silly videos where someone's wrong about dinosaurs and how they acted or behaved, or someone's wrong about bugs or any other kind of animal. But every now and then I have to dip into some other bad science, like the idea that bloodlines are passed down through being part of a secret society, or that Atlantean bloodlines flow through white people. This shit is too far gone. How is this person an academic?
With Andreas, Secretarians, and Jason Pate on recent Tartarians, a new video channel that he putting up to date. It has got things that should never make them